Hello friends, my name is Vinod. Welcome to i-RAS YouTube channel. We were doing RS Mains 2021 solution series in that we have completed paper 1 and paper 2 solutions. Today we will be starting paper 3 solutions, that is polity and international relations. Here is the syllabus of Indian political system, world politics and current affairs. Pause the video and have a look. Our first question: explain fraternity as mentioned in the preamble of the Constitution of India. Very simple question. Fraternity means a sense of brotherhood. That the preamble declared that fraternity has to assure two things: the dignity of individual and the unity and the integrity of the nation. Basically, it was taken from the French Revolution: liberty, fraternity, equality, and we have included this in our preamble also. It was meant for securing the diversity of India, to have a peace and unity in the nation. Next question: what is role of election commission in article 103 of the Constitution of India? Basically it is a hard question actually, because no one was expecting article 103. Article 103 says that President decide on disqualification of members of parliament on the binding opinion of the election commission. Member of the parliament can be removed from their post by president. However, president has to ask opinion of election commission, and the opinion was mentioned in under article 103, and the opinion are binding. Article 103 says if a question arises whether a member has incurred such disqualification, it will be referred to the president's decision. The president shall obtain the election commission opinion and act accordingly. What are the key points of Abraham Accord? It was news. The credit goes to Donald Trump. Basically, Abraham Accord was a peace deal between Arab countries and Israel. It was mediated by US. So it is a Arab-Israel mediated Arab-Israel peace accord mediated by the USA. UAE and Bahrain would establish their respective embassies in Israel, work together with Israel across a range of sectors including tourism, trade and security. Basically it is de-escalating Palestine issue. There was a war going on between Palestine and Israel, and Arab country, in order to show fraternity towards Palestine, they used to have a animosity with Israel. So Donald Trump mediated between Israel and Arab countries so that Israel and Arab countries have a peaceful relations. What is THAAD? It is basically a air defense system made by US. The Terminal High Altitude Area Defense is a missile defense system that is designed to intercept and destroy short and medium range ballistic missiles in their final flight phase. Basically it was placed near border areas, and it has a radar system and fire control and communication support equipment and launcher. Radar will intercept any incoming threat from other nations, and this TFCC will communicate to the launcher, and launcher will launch a missile to destroy the upcoming missile from other nations. So basically it is like a S-400 TRIMP system, which was India buying from Russia. India was buying S-400 from Russia. THAAD was news basically because THAAD was deployed in South Korea, border areas of South Korea. Next question: write 4 major issues discussed in G20 Rome summit. You can see here the G20 countries including Argentina, Australia, Brazil, China, European Union, India, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, South Africa, South Korea, Turkey, Russia, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom, United States of America. The 4 major issues was climate change, taxation, global economy, and development aid. Climate change, keeping 1.5 degree Celsius within reach. Taxation, multinational to a minimum 15% tax, means there is a minimum alternative tax for MNC companies of around 15%. And global economy meeting as rising inflation. Post COVID there is a high inflation in every country, so they are meeting those rising inflations. Development aid, new target of channeling 100 billion US dollar towards poorest nation for their developments. Next question. The first cabinet of independent Indian was not of political character but of national character. Support or oppose the statement with facts only. We're gonna support this statement because after independence on 15th August 1947, Jawaharlal Nehru gave a letter to the Mountbatten. In that letter, there were 14 ministers' name who gonna be appointed as a cabinet minister of newly independent India. So there were 14 cabinet ministers in first independent Indian cabinet with Pandit Nehru as a prime minister and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel as a deputy prime minister. Despite dominance of Congress at that time, there were 5 ministers who had no affiliation with the Congress. They were critics of the party. For example, BR Ambedkar. BR Ambedkar was very critical of Nehru and Congress party. But despite this fact, Nehru included BR Ambedkar in his cabinet so that the cabinet and the nation at large will have a vast or diverse experience and opinion. The cabinet was diverse also, which included Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian and Parsis. It got women and scheduled caste representation also. Thus, assembling such a political and ideologically diverse cabinet represent a truly national government. The first cabinet of independent Indian was not of political character but of national character. I mean, though Congress was dominating at that time, if Nehru wanted, all the 14 members of cabinet would have been from Congress only, but he didn't do that. Chief Justice Ramana said that the tendency to brand judicial review as a judicial overreach is not correct. What does he mean? Judicial review is the power of higher judiciary to examine the constitutionality of legislative enactments and executive orders of both the central and state government. It is mentioned in the Article 13, which says that any law or executive order will be null and void if they are violating fundamental rights. However, judicial overreach when the judiciary starts interfering with the proper functioning of the legislative or executive organ of the government. The primary role of judiciary is to do justice. If judiciary interfering in the functioning of executive or legislative, it is called judicial overreach. I mean, they are doing extra work, they are interfering in others' domain, they are not respecting separation of powers. So judicial review is mentioned under Article 13, whereas judicial overreach is extra constitutional, means judicial review is basic structure of the constitution and judiciary through judicial review ensures smooth functioning of the democracy. In India, most of the legislation, most of the welfare measures are done by Supreme Court only. Time and again, Supreme Court interfere to smoothing the democracy. For example, banning diesel vehicles in Delhi, formulating NGT, etc. etc. Whereas judicial overreach is a violation of separation of power. Thus, criticizing judicial review by saying it judicial overreach is not correct. Try to write a conclusion in every 5 marker and 10 marker questions. Explain the constitutional provision to remove the President of India from his office. Basically, they are asking impeachment process of President. So, impeachment process of President is mentioned under Article 61 which talks about impeachment of president for violation of the constitution. Any house can start the process of removal of president, subject to the condition they have a sign a resolution of minimum 1/4 of the total members of that house and pass that resolution by 2/3 majority of that total membership of the house. Then the resolution will have to pass from the another house. The another house will investigate those charges and other house will investigate the charges, and if the charges passed by 2/3 membership of that house, president will be removed from his house. However, no president have been removed so far from his office in India. Explain the concept of one sun, one world, one grid. Basically, this question comes from international relations. So it was in the news that there is basically a principle says sun never sets. I mean, if in India there is a night, there will be sunrise in the US. Wherever sun is rises, wherever sun is shining, from those area, solar energy or by way of solar panel, the energy get transferred to the areas which are not having sunlight in the night. For example, India getting sunlight in day, then whatever surplus amount of energy it has, it will transfer to the those nations which are at the night. For example, US, UK, Europe, etc. So the one sun, one world, one grid is a transnational electricity grid supplying power to all over the world through a common grid that will transfer solar power. This concept was mooted by India. India also the founder of International Solar Alliance along with France. The vision behind this that the sun never sets and is a constant at some geographical location globally at any given point of time. The move is the key to future renewable based energy systems globally because regional and international interconnected green grids can enable sharing and balancing of renewable energy across international borders. It allows sharing renewable energy resources to reduce the global carbon footprint and insulate the society from pandemics and other such calamities. So it's like a one nation one card concept. Next question. Describe the main feature of first assembly election in Rajasthan after independence. We got independence in 47. However, the first general election was held in 1952. In 1952, Rajasthan also went into election. The first election to first Rajasthan Assembly was held in February 1952, and there were more than 600 candidates for 160 seats. 140 constituency seats. However, Indian National Congress won 82 seats, and 81 seats was needed to form a government. Congress formed the government with the CM Tikaram Paliwal. However, there were 3 CM during first assembly. First CM being Tikaram Paliwal, second one Jay Narayan Vyas, third one Mohanlal Sukhadiya. And the speaker during first assembly, first Rajasthan Legislative Assembly was Narottam Lal Joshi. Describe the feature and evolution of judicial review in India. Basically, the earlier also we have seen the question judicial review and judicial overreach. Again, they have asked in 10 marks. So let's define what is judicial review first of all. So judicial review is the power of the higher judiciary. Higher judiciary include high courts and supreme court to examine the constitutionality of legislative enactment and executive orders of both the central as well as the state government under Article 13. Okay, on examination, if the higher judiciary found that they are be violative of constitution, they can be declared as illegal, unconstitutional and null and void by the judiciary. Judicial review comes under basic structure and hence cannot be removed by way of constitutional amendment. Judicial review of constitutional amendment, for example, National Judicial Appointment Commission was introduced by 99th Amendment Act. That act was invalid. That act was declared invalid by Supreme Court by way of judicial review. And it also include legislation of parliament, state legislature, subordinate legislation, administrative action. Whatever government is doing is comes under judicial review. Even ninth schedule is under the purview of judicial review. So the doctrine of judicial review was originated in USA in around 1803. John Marshall, the then Chief Justice of America, in the case of Marbury versus Madison. In India, the Constitution itself confers the power of judicial review on the higher judiciary, and Supreme Court and High Court declare the power of judiciary as an element of basic structure. In the case of Indira Nehru Gandhi, famously known as election case. Hence, the power of judicial review cannot be curtailed or excluded even by a constitutional amendment. They are related but different concepts such as judicial review, judicial activism, and judicial overreach. We have seen judicial review and judicial overreach. Let's see judicial activism. Judicial activism denotes proactive role played by the judiciary in the protection of the rights of citizens and the promotion of justice in society. For example, invented mechanism which have no constitutional backing, suo motu on it case, PIL, new doctrines, etc. Judicial activism is a one step ahead of judicial review, and judicial activism can be taken suo motu. For example, court sometime take cognizance from news or media reports that something is happening with this shelter home in Bihar or some pollution measures, etc. So sometime Supreme Court take cognizance suo motu. This kind of suo motu cognizance comes under judicial activism. Next question. Differentiate the working of Planning Commission and Niti Aayog and its impact on Indian federalism. You know, in 2015, Niti Aayog replaced Planning Commission. Niti Aayog stands for National Institution for Transforming India and was established as a successor of Planning Commission. So Niti Aayog, let's see the difference between Niti Aayog and Planning Commission. Niti Aayog has not been given the mandate or power to impose policy on state. I mean, Niti Aayog doesn't have a power to impose. I mean, they can't formulate a policy and say to the state government that, look, you have to follow those policy. No. Why? Whereas Planning Commission had the power to impose policy on states and for the projects approved by the Planning Commissions. Next difference, the powers of allocating of funds have not been given to the Niti Aayog. The powers are with the Finance Ministry. Niti Aayog just a think tank. They don't have financial powers. Whereas a Planning Commission had the power to allocate funds to the state government and the various central government ministries for various program and project at national and state levels. In Niti Aayog, the state government have to play a more proactive role. In Niti Aayog Governing Council, the state government did not have a much role in Planning Commission to play a part from taking part in the meetings. The state government role was confined to the National Development Council only. Niti Aayog having part-time members also, whereas there were no concept of part-time members in Planning Commission. Thus, in the spirit of federalism, Niti's own policy thinking is shaped by bottom-up approach. Means whatever the state government will formulate policy, they will passed to the Niti Aayog, and if Niti Aayog thinks that they can be implemented in entire India, they will be implemented in India. So, in the spirit of federalism, Niti Aayog's own policy thinking is shaped by a bottom-up approach rather than top-down model, which was done in planning commission. Instead of the center to state one-way flow of policy during planning commission, every state has a unique feature and one size fit all will not work in solving the problem. You know, Chhattisgarh may have a problem of Naxalbaji, but Rajasthan do not have. So both states require different policies for their socio-economic transformation. Thus, Niti Aayog will, as per demand and requirement of each state and union territory separately. Thus, the main vision of Niti Aayog is to foster cooperative federalism through structure support initiative and mechanism with the states on a continuous basis. Recognize that strong states make a strong nation. Strong states make a strong nation. Next question. Discuss the strategic role played by Quad in the Indo-Pacific region. You know, Quad stands for Quadrilateral Security Dialogue. Basically, it is an informal strategic dialogue between Japan, USA, Australia, and India. The Quad was first given by the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in 2007, and it advocated free, open, and prosperous Indo-Pacific region. The motive behind the Quad is to keep the strategic sea routes in the Indo-Pacific free of any military or political influence. You might have heard about Chinese military dominance in South China Sea, string of pearls around encirclement of India, creating military bases in Australia, Maldives, Horn of Africa, etc. So it is seen as a strategic grouping to reduce Chinese domination. The core objective of the Quad is to secure a rule-based global order, freedom of navigation, and a liberal trading system. The coalition also aims to offer alternative debt financing for nations in the Indo-Pacific region. If Chinese hostilities rise on the borders, India can take the support of the other Quad nation to counter the communist nation. Basically, the Quad was created to check the rise of China. China is emerging threat not only for the US but also for India. We have a lot of boundary dispute with China, be it Arunachal, be it China occupied Kashmir, and recently you have heard about the Galwan clashes. So India can even take the help of the other Quad nation to conduct strategic exploration in the Indo-Pacific region. And India is doing exploration in South China Sea from its ONGC Videsh Limited. And recently in 2021 September, US President Joe Biden hosted the first ever in-person summit of Quad in US, and Quad pledged to distribute 1 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine across the Indo-Pacific, and Quad have banned Chinese applications and mobile brands such as Huawei, etc. You might have heard about the recent ban on around 200 Chinese apps by India, such as Cam, Scanner, etc. Thus, through Quad, India can counterbalance China's growing presence in the Indo-Pacific region, including BRI, Belt Road Initiative, which has led to the building port facility in countries neighboring India, including Myanmar, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Horn of Africa, which give rise to sense of encirclement in New Delhi. Next question. Give suggestion for effective working of Gram Sabha in Rajasthan. You know, Gram Sabha is a constitutional body under Article 2 43A of the Constitution. It is a village assembly consisting of all the registered voters in the area of a panchayat. It is a 10 marker question, so we have to define what is a Gram Sabha. And let's come to the body which asks about the effective suggestions. So the first suggestion include increase the meeting of Gram Sabha every year from 2 to 6 like that of Chhattisgarh. In Rajasthan, only 2 meetings in a year are necessary, whereas in Chhattisgarh 6 meetings are necessary. Increased financial literacy among member of Gram Sabha about financial statement, audit, accounts. Member of Gram Sabha are not aware about the financial decisions, financial statements, audit reports, etc. So if we increase financial literacy among those members, then it will act as a check and balance on the panchayat and on the sarpanch. They will act accordingly. And next suggestion would be the limited participation of villagers as well as a critical stockholders such as elected representatives, government officials, line departments, and subject experts have been observed in India, in Rajasthan. Actually, there is a provision that elected members and some domain experts should also be included in Gram Sabha meeting. However, we are not seeing their participation in Gram Sabha meetings or Gram Sabha assemblies. Next, capacity building and confidence building, especially of vulnerable section of Gram Sabha such as women, STs, SCs, etc. to make Gram Sabha as an inclusive body. You might have heard that, you might have seen actually in villages, in the meeting of Gram Sabha, we don't see the presence of women. And there is a phenomena in Rajasthan that on the women seat, women get elected. However, her husband or her male counterpart, be it father or be it brother, used to be a sarpanch. I mean, her male family member is a de facto sarpanch. Though the female member was elected, but the work of sarpanch was done by her male member of the family. And Gram Sabhas must be given functional autonomy at the local level, like the allocation of finance, commissions, united grant can be utilized to suit the local needs. Sometimes Gram Sabha know better that which fund should be used to which development works. So they should be provided some functional autonomy. And the interference of area MP and MLAs in the functioning of panchayats need to be reduced. Thus, to ensure effective functioning of the Gram Sabha panchayat, it is important to revitalize the Gram Sabhas as an assembly of the villages, right? Bringing transparency, responsibility and accountability in panchayat functioning and its functionaries would go a long way in creating Gram panchayats as an engine of socio-economic growth in the rural areas. You know, we have a 3-tier of government, 3-layer government: union government, state government and local government. Local government use direct democracy. If they are function well, it will strengthen the democracy, in return which will transform socio-economic condition of the India. So it's bring to end of this lecture. In that we have completed paper 3 unit 1 polity and international relations. Coming video will be seeing unit 2, that is public administration. Sun loses nothing by providing sunlight. Your subscribes and likes matter a lot. If you like the video, then subscribe and share with your friends. If you don't like the video, then please tell us in the comment box. See you in the next video. Bye bye. Jai Hind.